Sportsbook. There's a reason why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, where you get unique, fun bet types like same-game parlays so you can get a massive payout on a small bet. And don't forget exclusive promotions such as enhanced odds boosts. Right now, FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Just place a bet on any game and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back if you don't win your first bet. There's no strings attached. Just place any bet you want. If you win, you keep the cash. If you lose, you'll get your entire bet up to $1,000 back in site credit. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and get started. And use my promo code HENNIG when you sign up to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. That's promo code HENNIG on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older and present in NJ or PA. First online real money wager only. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.findle.com for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The radio home of the 76ers.
Oh, man, get excited.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Yes, another edition of Sports Bash Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. We are live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. Only 1 hour to do it. Flyers hockey coming up at 1 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. Their final game of the 3-game set with the Penguins before they come back home tomorrow night to play the Caps. Brian Elliott in goal. We'll get into all the details with the Flyers coming up at 12:40 today with our Flyers insider Kevin Durso. As the Flyers, they're finding ways to survive. That game on Thursday was incredible, so we got to get into that with Kevin Durso coming up at 12:40 today. We are also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show here live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. It's Matt Blatt Kia in the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblattkia.com. Also, we'll get into the news of the week for the Eagles, for the Sixers. Also, I'll rerun it back for you. My UFC picks brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook, use promo code HENNIG when you sign up. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app or go to sportsbook.fanduel.com. You sign up with the promo code HENNIG. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000, but you got to use that promo code HENNIG. 21 or to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. It really has been an interesting week for Eagles news because when you think about the fact that, the Sixers, they're at the All-Star break. And you're going to have Embiid and Simmons both in the game tomorrow night. The Flyers, they're competitive. They're really in the conversation for the postseason. And not just to make the postseason, but to make a run in the postseason. So there's a lot of things going on in Philadelphia with the teams that are playing. Philly's obviously back at spring training. But the Eagles still find a way to get into the news. And whether it's them being talked about a lot because of people's mock drafts, whether it's because, people start a little chatter because of what Jason Peters has to say about Carson Wentz, or whether it's actual news, like them restructuring guys' contracts. The Eagles always find ways to get back into the news cycle. And I want to run it back for you, what we talked about a little bit on yesterday. We have a lot of time to talk about it yesterday, but I want to run it back for you because to me, it's a very big deal that these guys are restructuring the contracts for the Eagles. Remember, the Eagles were coming into this offseason before they traded Carson Wentz with an opportunity to really hit the reset button because they have to. With all the dead cap they have, the salary cap hits they had coming into the upcoming season, you knew that the Eagles were in a position where they had to figure some things out. And then they trade Carson Wentz. That's another batch of money dumped on top of the money that was already owed. So you're already at a position of disadvantage. Then when the news comes out, Deshaun Jackson, he is going to be gone. Alshon Jeffrey restructured his contract so they can cut him and not take such a huge cap hit as they would have otherwise. Malik Jackson restructures his deal. He's going to be let go probably just for procedural reasons. Whether he comes back or not, we'll have to wait and find out. Then the news comes out this week that Brandon Graham, tells Derek Gunn that, hey, I'm going to restructure my deal. I'm willing to do it. You have Lane Johnson telling Derek Gunn on his podcast, hey, man, you need me to restructure my contract? I'm willing to do it. Jason Kelce comes out yesterday and says, I'm coming back for the 2021 season. We are restructuring my contract. So now you have guys restructuring their contracts along with Darius Slay. You can check out all this news, by the way, at 973ESPN.com. We have all the details of these guys restructuring their contracts, 973ESPN.com and the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. But all these guys are restructuring their contracts. And this is a huge deal because in a world where every so-called expert wants to tell you this, that, or the other thing about the Eagles and about Howie Roseman and about things that may or may not be true, okay? Because I see a lot of things on the internet from people who nobody knows who they really are. They're not verified. They're not reporters. You get comments sent to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or at the text board at 609-403-0973. People claiming things that may or may not be true. I have no way of verifying the information. But what I do know is when guys are restructuring their contracts and they want to stay here and they want to be here long term, that's a good sign for the organization. I know that there is a perception out there, all right? There is a perspective out there that the Eagles are this, that, and the other thing. But let me tell you something. When you think about the Philadelphia Eagles, what you're talking about is an organization that has really done a good job at catering to their players, okay? They've done a great job at putting their players in a position to get what they need from them. Adam Kaplan was on the Sports Bash yesterday, a Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds broadcast, brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. And he said this about Jason Kelce coming back to the Eagles. This is NFL insider Adam Kaplan yesterday with Mike Gill.
Both sides to answer your question. They wanted to do a deal here. As I said, Jason wanted to come back, and the Eagles wanted him back. They definitely wanted him back. He was a Pro Bowler. We could argue whether he should have been or not, but he was. And he's still one of the best centers of the National Football League. It's not a great position in general when you talk to NFL teams. It's one of the hardest to find talent. Even at 33 years old, he turns 34 in November. He's still one of the top 5 centers of the National Football League.
So one of the top 5 centers in the National Football League, he wants to be here. All right. For as much as we've criticized the Eagles, and they are well deserving of some of this criticism, right? Between the owner, between the GM, between a lot of things, the coach before he got fired, the new coach and what he has or hasn't said, the quarterback situation. There's a lot of blame to go around, okay? There's a lot of guys who didn't play well this year. But Jason Kelce coming back, and he's coming back on a restructured deal. Now, he's getting a chunk of money up front. That's how they're restructuring the deal. For those who don't know, that's how it works. When you restructure these contracts, you typically take money off of the salary cap and place it into somebody's hands in some sort of signing bonus, all right? That is typically how these restructures work. So, for example, with Jason Kelce, just to give you a little bit of a background, because I know, there's a lot of misinformation out there about this kind of stuff. So, Jason Kelce, right now, after his restructure, okay, remember, he just signed a contract last year, all right? It was a 3-year contract, but some of the years on the back end were what we call dummy years, all right? Kelce was going to account for $8.5 million on the cap this coming year. Now, that number goes from $8.5 million on the cap, and it drops. It drops significantly, okay? You're taking that $8.5 million and you're popping it down to about $3 million. Now you say, well, that's $5 million. What's the point? Well, the point is that it's $5 million that gets you closer to the number you need to get to you're also shoveling that money that Kelce would have gotten on his base salary into a signing bonus. And that's really where the key is for a lot of this stuff. Do not forget that as long as you get the money off the cap, it doesn't matter how much money is due, you can give it to the guy in a signing bonus. So no matter how much money you may have on the contract long term, as long as it's not guaranteed money, it's not going to hit the cap directly. Adam Kaplan again, yesterday on Football at 4, talking about guys restructuring contracts in the NFL, because he was asked, the Eagles do this a lot, right? The Eagles, this is their go-to move since Joe Banner and Andrew Brandt were here years ago. Howie Roseman has kind of continued the restructure tradition.
This is what they do, I know for a fact, talking to agents, some agents over the years through the players, turn down their restructures. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens here.
There are people who turn down restructures. You heard Kaplan say it right there. And it's significant because I remind you all again, I mentioned this yesterday on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. Go back to what happened with Lane Johnson in 2016. Before the 2016 season, Lane Johnson had signed a new contract. But one of the stipulations in that contract was, Lane, if you get suspended or penalized by the league, you're going to lose your guaranteed money. Because remember, he was suspended previously to the 2016 season for a violation. In 2016, he got hit again for a PED violation. He lost 10 games. Because of those 10 games suspended he took in 2016, he lost $32 million of guaranteed money. Gone. Out the window. Never getting it back. The only way he was going to get it back under the original contract is if he hit every single tier of requirements for the contract, like playing all 16 games, being an all-pro, being a Pro Bowler every year, winning, doing this. There's so many things they put in these contracts for bonuses. It actually gets mind-numbing after a while. But what did the Eagles do? Howie Roseman and the Eagles organization, signed off by Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, went to Lane and said, look, we like you, Lane. You're our guy. We drafted you. You are a part of the fabric of this organization. So what we are going to do is we are going to renegotiate the contract extension that you signed. And even though you lost $32 million, let's find a way to get you back that $32 million. So what happened? They restructured his contract. They shuffled the money around. They took money that was lost and reformatted it for him to get it. So think about it this way. Lane Johnson was drafted. He renegotiated his contract extension before the 2016 season. Then he lost guaranteed money. All right, remember, you're losing all that money guaranteed on the contract. The team comes back and says, we're going to find a way to get you that money back. We're going to find a way to make sure that you get the money lost. Because remember, when you sign a contract and you lose the guaranteed money, you're losing the main stipulation of the contract. So what did the Eagles do? They reshuffled the money that was lost into 2017. And then they took that money and they created a huge signing bonus. And then a couple years later, what does he do? He signs another contract extension and restructures it again to help the Eagles save money on the cap. But do we really think that Lane Johnson would be interested in restructuring his contract if the Eagles didn't come to him and say, look, you lost the $32 million guaranteed. We're going to try to get you your money back. No way. And you don't think that guys like Jason Kelce know exactly what went down with that. Of course he does. You don't think that other players on the team look at how the Eagles treated their top 5 draft pick, Lane Johnson, one of the best right tackles in the NFL, one of the heart and souls of that locker room. Him and Jason Kelce are arguably the two of the biggest leaders on this team at this point. And they've been here for years. They've been here together. They are the standard setters. They are the leaders of this team. And you don't think other players look at how they treated those guys and say, hey, you take care of those guys, I know you'll take care of me. So the next time you see that somebody has agreed to restructure their contract, or you're wondering, why are these guys willing to restructure their contracts? Remember the Lane Johnson story. There was a precedent set when Howie Roseman became the GM again. All right. After he got sent to the broom closet, Chip Kelly got fired. Jeffrey Lurie brought him back. They hired Doug Peterson. That was Howie's first year back on the job. That also happened to be the year that Lane Johnson was suspended. And remember, Howie Roseman, his first year after Andy Reid, was in charge of the draft. And who did he draft? He drafted Lane Johnson. So there's a connection between those guys. For better or for worse, this organization is a loyal organization, for better or for worse. For better, obviously they take care of Kelce and Lane Johnson. For worse, they keep taking care of Jason Peters, and they gave Carson Wentz that gargantuan contract extension a couple of years ago. So obviously loyalty is an important thing to them, whether we like it or not. But because of that loyalty, players look around and they say, hey man, you take care of us, we'll agree to help you out to better the organization. Lane Johnson said it this week. It's all about winning. Jason Kelce, I want to be in Philadelphia. Brandon Graham, I want to finish my career here. These guys want to be here because of how they have been treated by the organization. So keep that in mind the next time that you may see or hear an opinion about the Eagles when it comes to this stuff. Trust me, they're going to get to that number. All right. They are going to find a way to get to that number under the cap. At this moment in time, according to reports, the Eagles still have roughly about $33 million to go when it comes to getting in the financial right. That money does not include Lane Johnson or Brandon Graham restructuring the deals yet. That number only includes guys like Darius Slay and Jason Kelce and guys like that so far. So if we're to assume that some of these guys are going to start restructuring their contracts, all right, Brandon Graham, that's between $6 and $8 million. Lane Johnson's between $5 and $7 million of money savings. You move on from Zach Ertz, like they say they're going to, that's about $4 million of cap savings. So 4 plus 5, it's 9 plus 8 is 17. 17 from 33. We're doing math on the radio here because I'm trying to help you guys see the bigger picture of this. Listen, 17 off of that 33, you're right around 15. Alshon Jeffrey is going to be out the door. That's another couple $1 million. Jason Kelce, he agreed to a restructure that saved you $3 million. Malik Jackson, he's going to be cut. That's another couple $1 million. If they decide to maybe cut Marquise Goodwin, he wasn't even here last year. That's almost $2 million. So now that number becomes much more tenable, much easier to get to before the start of the league year, which is only a week and change away. So keep all that information in mind the next time you hear or see some random person online say something about the Philadelphia Eagles. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Josh Hennick here, live in the Matt Black Kia Studios on 973 ESPN. You can also comment on the show as you watch it on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973 ESPN, where you can follow us. You can catch the Sports Bash with Mike Gill Monday through Friday, as well as myself, Game Night with Josh Hennig, Monday through Friday on 973 ESPN, as we are live on your radio on 973 ESPN FM, the 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City, and of course, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. 609-403-0973 is text book. Gets all your guys' comments coming up next right here on a Power Hour edition Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM. Of course, we'll be talking with Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider, coming up 20 minutes from now to preview Flyers versus Penguins.
Today on Compass Media Network's coverage of NCAA basketball. Throw out the records and the rankings. It's a battle for Tobacco Road as longtime rivals Duke and North Carolina square off from Chapel Hill as the Duke Blue Devils and the North Carolina Tar Heels write yet another classic chapter in this historic series. North Carolina and Duke. If it's NCAA basketball, it's right here.
The college basketball season continues only on 97.3 ESPN.
Life is about balance, and the New Jersey Lottery encourages everyone to dream big. However, the lottery should not be considered or played as an alternative source of income, and you should always know your limits. For more on responsible gaming, visit njlottery.com. Dream big, play responsibly.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Before you move in and start making a lifetime of memories, there's something you should remember: the value of working with a realtor. A realtor is more than an expert in the field who abides by a code of ethics. A realtor is your neighbor and your ally, someone who puts your agenda ahead of theirs, someone who understands your dreams and has the expertise to make them a reality. Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor, and the doors we open together. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Homeowners, no need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all, so you only have to call one number, 609-641-6262. Jenkins & Sons has been on the job since 1949 for new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. One call does it all. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com. That's 609-641-6262 or jenkinsandsons.com.
Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you.
Want professional tax prep at a great value? Jackson Hewitt has an offer you won't want to miss. For a limited time, we'll prepare your federal taxes for as little as $48 and no more than $179. That's right. Get federal taxes done for you by skilled Jackson Hewitt tax pros in Walmart for as little as $48 and no more than $179. This offer won't last. Offer expires March 15th. Stop by Jackson Hewitt in Walmart and get your coupon code and details. That's Jackson Hewitt, conveniently located in Walmart.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all know the sound. It happens. Your phone. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless's new Platinum Unlimited plan includes phone protection that covers those kinds of mishaps. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus more features, like 20 gigs of hotspot and 100 gigs of cloud storage, all on the best networks. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
See mobile protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers greater confidence in you. Go to rocketmortgage.com or call us today at 8338-ROCKET.
A verified approval is based on an underwriter's analysis of your individual financial information, appraisal, and title report. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
That meeting's starting at 4. Can I get those projections?
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Karen, do these numbers look right to you?
Like at Mia's research firm. To hit client deadlines, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Termite season is quickly approaching. Is your home protected, whether you're renovating or getting ready for spring? Stop termites, mice, and ants in their tracks. Visit VikingPest.com for a pest-free home. That's VikingPest.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday, Power Hour edition on 97.3 ESPN. We'll be getting your thoughts and comments in just a moment at the text board at 609-403-0973. And, of course, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch the show here on 97.3 ESPN. Again, 609-403-0973. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Kevin Durso will join us coming up about 15 minutes from now. I want to remind you about my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Listen, if you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook and you haven't tried the same game parlays, the amazing odds boosts, and more, here's an opportunity for you to get involved with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up with my promo code Hennig, and you can get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. That's right. Site credit up to $1,000 risk-free bet. They got to use my promo code if you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're an existing user, make sure you jump on the same game parlays. They take a small bet and turn it into a huge payout only with FanDuel Sportsbook promo code Hennig, Hennig. Get some texts. I got some YouTube comments. So we got Murphy, we got Dan, we got Cole. We'll get to you guys here in just a second here. I'm going to pull up Cole first. I'm going to get you guys in the order that you came in here on my screen in front of me here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Colin LBI says, yes, it helps the Eagles short term, but you're pushing cap problems down the road. These players like Howie because they know the way he restructures contracts, they still get their money. That's from Cole from LBI. Cole also points out the fact that he feels like, the Eagles are doing things differently than the Steelers, which is true. So a couple of things I want to point out to Cole. First of all, not every restructure is pushing money down the road, okay? It's a case-by-case basis. For example, the contracts that guys like, for example, Jason Kelce is signing, it's not pushing money down the road. It's taking money off of the cap and giving it to them in a lump sum of guaranteed money. So, yes, you're right. The players do like that. The players, frankly, if I'm a player, I love that, okay? If I'm a player, I love that because you're giving me my money. You're telling me up front, here's your money. Don't worry about the rest. But you're not always pushing the cap problem down the road. Remember, there's different types of restructure. There's restructures that take guaranteed money and shove it down the road to later years. There's other restructures that take money that's already on the contract, give it to the player up front, and then when we have what has been referred to as dead, dumb money, later down the road, these dead years, these dummy years where theoretically, if you're on the roster, you'll make money. But if you're not on the roster, it counts as no hit at all. So technically, for example, if I go to Lane Johnson's contract, all right, Lane Johnson originally, before he restructured he had a 4-year contract extension he signed in 2019. All right, just using Lane as an example. But technically, Lane Johnson's contract goes through 2028. But the last 3 years of that contract, there's no money on that deal. It's all zeros on the base salary. And the only money that's on there is these roster bonuses, these prorated bonuses. So, for example, yes, in some ways you are taking money and kicking it down the road, but you also have these dead years. So the only money guaranteed to the player is, for example, if they're on the roster, if they work out, if they play X number of games. And now you take more and more of that money and give it to them up front. That's why they like it. That's why they're all good with it. So it's not always kicking the can down the road. Some cases it is, some cases it isn't. So it's a little bit of both, Cole. So I appreciate you texting in. Let's grab a message on the Facebook before we get back to the text board at 609-403-0973. YouTube, Murphy Brown chimes in and says, my Eagles are not drafting a third tight end at the 6th overall pick. Well, first of all, Murphy, I don't know who the second tight end is because the Eagles are going to either release or trade Zach Ertz, and Richard Rodgers is a free agent. So as far as I know, they only have one tight end. That would be Dallas Goedert. So I don't know. I'm assuming you're talking about Kyle Pitts as the third tight end if they draft him, because in a lot of mock drafts, he is the guy that's being talked about. Let me see here. If you trade Zach Ertz at the savings of $4.5 million, if you cut him, it's the same number unless it's a post June 1st cut. So it's basically the same number. So it's about $4.5 million savings. There's some dead money to be worked out there. Maybe they restructure his deal to try to get out of some of that money. Yeah, if they restructure his deal and then trade him, there's no dead cap hit. But I don't know where you're getting the third tight end from, Murphy, because every report out there is that they're trading Zach Ertz. So technically, if they were to draft Kyle Pitts, who isn't really a tight end, he's more of an offensive weapon, you would have two tight ends technically, and you would need a third tight end because of all the injuries the Eagles have had in the past. You would probably re-sign Richard Rodgers to the roster, or maybe they go out and they bring in one of the former Colts tight ends because we know they know Sirianni's system. So you're going to have three tight ends on the team anyway. So I'm not fully sure, Murphy, where you're getting your information there. That I guess you're assuming that Zach Ertz is going to be on the team when maybe you're the only person assuming that. By the way, for anybody who didn't hear it, this is what let me just find it real quick. Adam Kaplan said about Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts. Here it is. This is what people are saying about Kyle Pitts. Take a listen.
This is a Philadelphia area, suburbs born guy, and he's long, over 6'6". And here's one thing, I'll give you a nugget. Teams tell me when they've gotten, the coaches have got done the tape already. Really a willing blocker, much better blocker than you think. He just rarely was asked to play in line. And he's a high character kid, by the way, from the early studies. We're still 2 months away from the draft. The early information I have is he's a really great kid.
A little more from Adam Kaplan on what an NFL guy told him about Pitts.
Let me explain to you what an NFL offense coordinator told me, and I put this on our show. The coach called him an OW, which is offensive weapon. He goes, he's not a tight end. He's an X receiver, which is a single side receiver. The guy typically doesn't move very much. Whereas the Z, which is really to me what Rager's position will be moving across the formation. If you put Pitts with Rager, with Fulgham, with Sanders, with Goddard, my God, the options in the pass game, show me a better team in terms of pass targets.
He's an offensive weapon, Murphy. He's not a tight end. That's not me saying it. That is people who cover the NFL and have sources that are not you and me. Okay. Let's get back to the text board, 609-403-0973. Dan from EHT chimes. This is the problem I have with what you're saying, Josh, is the Eagles' talent is not good, and they're headed for disaster. Restructuring all you want, but they need upgrades everywhere. Dan EHT goes on to say they should trade the 6th overall pick to get more talent. And I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that's actually a solid idea if they were to trade it. But in terms of the talent, I think one of the things that gets involved in all of this stuff is when you think about Dan EHT, you got to restructure these contracts to get to within salary cap compliance. So you have money to sign guys on the rookie contracts, on free agent deals, to make trades. You got to be within cap compliance to do that. So yes, they need upgrades. But in order to have those upgrades, you got to restructure the deal. So it's kind of like a step-by-step process, right? It's one of those deals where you got to get from point A to point B to point C to point D, et cetera, all. For example, you're not going to be able to maybe bring in some of the guys that Sirianni, the new head coach, and Gannon, the new defensive coordinator, want if you don't restructure some of these contracts. One of the things that we are looking at with the Eagles is you got to get to a certain point in order to do other things. And I think that's why the restructures are important. That's why I brought up the fact that if the Eagles weren't restructuring contracts, it would be a problem, right? If they weren't restructuring, guys who didn't want to agree to restructures, that would be a problem. And I agree. They need upgrades. They need help at corner, 100%. They need help at linebacker. They have one linebacker, basically. It's Alex Singleton. they need more depth on the offensive line in case more injuries happen again this year. Hopefully they don't. But if they do happen, you need to make sure you got some security back there. You got to make sure that you sign a veteran backup for Jalen Hurts. I don't want to see some wet around the ears kid in the quarterback room with Hurts. For Carson Wentz, you gave him Chase Daniel. You gave him Josh McCown. You gave him Nick Foles. You got to give Hurts the same type of people, quality people in the quarterback room to help him with things. Whether it's Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Fitzpatrick, trade for Nick Foles. Bring him back to Philadelphia. Go out there and get Marcus Mariota. I don't care who it is. I just don't want it to be some guy like Patrick Ramsey from, not Patrick Ramsey, oh, dagnabbit. What is the kid's name from Northwestern? I thought it was Patrick Ramsey. I got to make sure I'm saying the guy's name right. Because I'm so jaded on this idea of drafting Peyton Ramsey. Yeah, Patrick Ramsey was the guy drafted by Washington to play quarterback. Peyton Ramsey is the quarterback. Everyone says he's so smart. He's a high intelligence guy. Blah blah blah. If you draft him and it's Hurts and Ramsey and some other Joe Schmo in the quarterback room, I'm not going to be happy. So part of getting these upgrades is also making sure you're cap compliant so you can make those upgrades. That's a big part of this as well. Again, the text board 609-403-0973. I don't have time to copy and paste George's text because it's so long. So I'm just going to read it as concisely as I can. First of all, George, I appreciate the long text, but I'm going to pick up at a certain point because part of this, you're repeating some of what I already said, but you're talking about them restructuring and converting salaries and the bonuses and stuff. You go on to say, you know, you're inevitably kicking the money down the road. It's a good strategy for a team like the Saints, who have been good enough to compete for a championship each of the past 4 years. But when you're rebuilding like the Eagles, I don't see the benefit. That's from George on the text board at 609-403-0973. What I would say to you, George, is, see, you're looking at it as very cut and dry. But every contract is not negotiated the same way. Not every contract is prorated. Not every contract is distributed evenly or unevenly. Not every time you're kicking money down the road is it lots of money. Sometimes it is a certain amount of money versus others. And the reason why you're in the situation is because when you won the Super Bowl, Doug Peterson, Howie Roseman, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey got up in the front of that parade with all the screaming fans, and they say, "This is the new norm." And then what happened? The injuries happened and the window closed, and no longer it's not the norm of winning the Super Bowl. So, again, you're looking at it in terms of one aspect. The Eagles thought they were contenders. And frankly, if Alshon Jeffrey catches the football and the defense doesn't have all the problems they have, like the injuries in the second half against the Saints, they're back in the NFC Championship game in 2018. Maybe if Carson Wentz doesn't get a cheap shot to the back of his head in 2019, you get to the second round of the playoffs because the Seahawks barely beat you in that game. If Josh McCown wasn't hobbling around a torn hamstring, maybe you win that game. So theoretically, they were in contention. They were championship caliber teams. And then everything just fell apart in 2020. It's football. It happened. So let's add some context to the conversation. But I like the text from George on the text board. All right. We got to preview the Flyers game coming up next. Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider, joins me coming up next here on Sports Bash Saturday. Power Hour, Flyers versus Penguins at the top of the hour here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And listen to the Flyers on 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And for full Flyers coverage, check out 973ESPN.com.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey later today on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action. The Flyers are in Pittsburgh to face the Penguins later today. Coverage begins at 1 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
Hey, bro. I don't think I can help you move Saturday. My back is really bugging me. I just don't think I can handle it. Sorry. Hey, dude, it's John. I know I told you I'd be able to help you move. I think Michelle's really mad at me for something. What's that, honey? Oh, dude, I gotta go. Sorry, man.
Call Clark's Moving and Storage in South Jersey for your next local or long-distance move. Clark's, dependable and always shows up. Call 609-889-0780.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers built for business and powered by Intel Core processors. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more. All with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Again, that's 877-ASK-DELL.
If you're an athlete or live an active lifestyle, aches and pains can be part of the game. That's where Trifecta Therapeutics comes into play. Trifecta Therapeutics is a premier sports rehabilitation physical therapy center located centrally for anyone in South Jersey, right in Glassboro. Their team of the highest skilled docs takes a unique approach to physical therapy and rehab, whether you're a weekend warrior or a finely tuned athlete. They treat the pros and the Joes. To find out more about Trifecta Therapeutics and how they can help you, check out trifectatherapeutics.com.
Today on Hey Culligan, hard water hurts appliances. Go for Glenn in Glenview.
Hey Culligan, my appliances aren't that old and they're already on the fritz.
Sounds like your hard water might be giving your water appliances a hard time, but there is hope in the form of a Culligan high-efficiency water softener that helps extend the life of dishwashers, washing machines, heating systems.
Okay, hey Culligan.
Yeah, Glenn?
Yeah, hook me up.
Glenn, one high-efficiency appliance-saving softener already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with a local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Sure thing. We can help you replace those wipers. If yours are squeaking or streaking, it's probably time. We've got a wide selection of wipers that can stand up to any weather, including the right ones for your make and model. We've even got more ways to get them fast, like our next day delivery or free same-day store pickup. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Hi, I'm Brian Peterson at Made Anew Home Remodeling. The events of the past few months have been something most of us have never known. Let's reflect on some of the good things. Time spent with family, extra meals around the dinner table, playing games in the house, and quality time in our homes. If you need help transforming your space to create more beautiful memories, then reach out to me. Visit madeanewhomeremodeling.com.
To learn more about this and other featured businesses on the New Jersey Business Exchange, visit 973ESPN.com.
Home is where the heart is, and with a $138 million Powerball jackpot win, home could look a lot different than it does now. With all those millions, a Cape May mansion could be yours. So take a chance on Powerball. Anything can happen in Jersey.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Joining me right now on the Boardwalk kind of hotline to get more into the Flyers versus Penguins. It's game 21. I mean, goodness gracious. It actually feels like it should be more games, but probably that's because there's a part of me that just doesn't even know what day it is anymore. But Kevin Durso is keeping us all straight over at 97.3 ESPN.com. It's the Flyers. Their final of the 3-game set versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So we're finally at the end of this bizarre stretch of 3 games. And one thing that's interesting about this game is who is and isn't playing. Looks like, according to you, that Nate Prosser has been called up in the taxi squad, so no Phil Myers. And it looks like Joel Farabee, at least he's going to be coming back. So at least the Flyers are not going into this final game completely out of whack.
Yeah, and it feels just like the Thursday game when Crosby came back from the COVID list. You know, now Joel Farabee's able to come back. He's able to jump right back into game action. He missed 1 game. So that's good news for the Flyers. They get their forward core back, and everybody's back together where they should be, it seems like. Phil Myers being out is unfortunate. I don't know if Prosser's playing yet or not. We're still kind of waiting to see what's going on with the warm-ups and line combinations and things like that, because they do have Eric Gustafsson, who sat out the last 2 games. But it's kind of interesting where this could go, because Gustafsson's that puck-moving, offensive-minded defenseman, and that doesn't trend well in this little series going on, because it's been such a game of transition plays, odd man rushes. You saw how quickly the Flyers got burned by being caught on odd man rushes in Thursday's game. So maybe Prosser comes in and actually fills the role, because he's the guy who can stay at home, who can be back and be more responsible in the defensive end, so that the Flyers can stick to what they were doing in the game on Thursday and try to carry that over into today.
Yeah, and he actually played really well. People forget, because a while ago he played really well in a little bit of time he did play. I'm honestly surprised he hasn't been called up sooner, because of the fact of what he was able to do in the little bit of game time he had.
Yeah, I would say so. And not only that, but you also have those games where they didn't have everybody with them because of the COVID situation. Now, granted, they didn't lose a lot of defensemen during that time, so that's probably why. But it could have certainly called for it at that time. But if he is getting a chance today, it's another opportunity for him. And he did play well in that one game he had against New Jersey, scored a goal, which is rare for him. That was kind of icing on the cake. But he did play well, and hopefully if he is in the lineup today, then that can be the same thing against Pittsburgh in this final game.
Now, with Farabee being activated basically 30 minutes before the game at this point, what do you expect his place to be in the lineup? Because I feel like these lines have changed so many times. I'm not even fully sure who's on the ice from shift to shift at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And, I wonder if Alain Vigneault is going to go back to the combination that seems to have worked really well and put Farabee right back with James Van Riemsdyk and Sean Couturier, which would be their top line right now. I'm kind of left wondering, because Alain Vigneault has said both days, both Thursday after the game and then again yesterday when addressing the media on a practice day, that he had lines drawn up for Thursday the night before. So Wednesday night, he had his lines for Thursday's game ready to go, and when they found out Farabee wasn't available, he had to literally shuffle everything. There was nothing that stayed the same about the forward group at all. So I'm wondering if that's the way they'll go with this, if they'll take that route and go that quickly, we can put Farabee right back at the top of the lineup, or if they decide to do kind of what they did with Travis Konechny and ease him back in for a game. Maybe you slot him in on the third line where Claude Giroux was playing and somebody like Oscar Lindblom, and you just give him a few less minutes. Maybe you figure out how you can get him up as the game goes on, and you start him low and then move him up in the lines. But either way, I don't think there's a way they can go wrong here. I mean, the Penguins didn't have any problem putting Sidney Crosby right back where he usually is, and I get it. It's Sidney Crosby. It's one of the best players in the world. But Farabee was on a hot streak, and he only missed a day or two, so I wouldn't be shocked if he's right back where he normally is and playing with the same guys he was right before all this.
Kevin Durso joining us here on the Boardwalk on the hotline here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Flyers Penguins, the third game of the series today at 1 p.m. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates on the call at 1 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN FM, and you can listen on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. One of the other news items, you and I talked about this a little bit on Thursday as well. I want to bring it back today. Brian Elliott back in goal. And you know what? You gotta admit, that game on Thursday, when I was watching it, listen, we all kind of thought the same thing. Are they going to keep Elliott in there? Are they going to not keep him in there? And you got to think, if they didn't keep Elliott in there, they might not have won that game, because after those 3 goals, he kept them in that game. And you know what? Maybe there is something to this whole Brian Elliott on the road, Carter Hart at home thing.
Yeah, there might be. Sure, of course. But, Brian Elliott did what he had to do for the rest of that game. And quite honestly, I think the rest of the team did in front of him too, because I had told you on Thursday leading into the game, I wonder if the way the team plays in front of Brian Elliott right now is just different than the way they play in front of Carter Hart, whether they think Carter Hart's able to make the high percentage the high percentage chance saves and figure out how to be a guy who can make a desperation save when needed, so they are a little looser in the defensive zone because of that or whatever. But they were the same team that would have been in front of Carter Hart as they were in front of Brian Elliott in that start to Thursday. That's just the way that the defense has played this entire time sometimes, is They allow too many grade A opportunities. They leave a goalie out to dry for that stretch of time. And after that, though, they really did tighten up. I don't recall too many great chances for Pittsburgh. Obviously, the one that stands out is the save that was made on Malkin in the third period, because that right there probably is the game if he scores right there and it goes from 3-2 to 4-2, and you've been working your way back, and it's halfway through the third period, and now you've got to find a way to get 2 more, not 1 more. And instead, they get the big save where they needed it. I think sometimes, as I said yesterday, it's just about matchups, and sometimes who you play better against, who you've had more success against recently, or sometimes just riding the hot hand. And I think that right now, you have to admit, Brian Elliott is the hot hand right now, and they're going to him as often as possible until they can get Carter Hart to be the hot hand. And I think he'll get his chance because, next week they're busy just like they were this week, and I think that Carter Hart's going to get his fair share of starts down the stretch here, and they're keeping him fresh for the stretch run, too. There's going to be a lot of games coming up in this month, next month, leading into May and into the playoffs. I think they absolutely have to consider how much they're using one guy over another, because if they overuse one guy and it starts to affect his performance or creates a situation where he's just not on his game anymore, then they're going to have some problems, because they need to get both goalies kind of into the same rhythm so they can balance it out and then turn to the guy who they think is hotter against the opponent or hotter in general as the season gets down the stretch.
Now, people heard me mention just a moment ago, this is game 21 for the Flyers. I think it's a very important designation because all the teams around them, Penguins right behind them in the standings, Bruins right ahead of them, Capitals, Islanders, they all have more games played so far than the Flyers. So to me, getting those 2 points on Thursday was massive because you're already in catch-up mode, Kevin. And now, as you're going to be making up these games, March is going to be a psychoville of games at this point. Getting those wins is going to be more and more important as we get through the gauntlet this month.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I like the idea of being the team that didn't play as many games as the rest, and you have them in hand to be able to make up the ground if you're behind in any way, shape, or form. Like, I understand that the standings at one point in time showed the Flyers going into this series, 4th place, Pittsburgh's in 5th, and now you have an opportunity to separate yourself from Pittsburgh, maybe jump a couple of teams, things like that. I always would rather be the team that has the games left to make up the ground than be the team at the top with 4 extra games played, waiting to see what happens behind you, because that means that the teams behind you control their own destiny. So I love that the Flyers are able to control their own destiny here and come out and play up to their potential and try to get into the spot that they should be in as the season rolls along, because they have the opportunity to get back there. And a lot of that obviously has to do with their COVID situation. They were off for a week with no games. They came back, and for the week and a half after, as they were coming back, getting players back from the COVID list, they only played 3 times because of the Lake Tahoe situation, so they had that travel involved, and that was built into the schedule. Now they're playing the schedule I think we all thought they would have, which is this, one either back-to-backs or one every other day, and it's going to create a lot of gameplay in a short amount of time. And it's a good and bad thing, because it's good because you have that quick turnaround every single time. They didn't play well on Tuesday. When that game on Thursday started the way it did, they were able to call a timeout and turn the tide and win the game. Now they're focused on Saturday, and now Pittsburgh's doing the same thing the Flyers were on Tuesday. It's an opportunity to come back that quickly and turn it around. But at the same time, it leaves you with very limited practice time to work on the issues that are going on around the team, if there are any to correct. So when special teams has a game like they did on Tuesday and they go 0 for 5 on the power play, you don't have a lot of practice time to sit there and say, we're going to work on this and come back the next game better at it. You kind of have to make the adjustments in game. That's the tricky part. So we'll see how that goes. But I like the fact that the Flyers are the lower end of this, and they're not playing as many games, and they get the chance to control their own destiny, starting with this one today against Pittsburgh.
Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider. Catch all of his work over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Pre-game, post-game reviews, all the coverage you need. Also at Kevin_Durso on Twitter. Flyers, Penguins coming up in just a few minutes right here on 97.3 ESPN. And as all guests, he appeared on your radio and on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline. Kevin, great stuff today, and hopefully the Flyers can get another win against the Penguins and keep them at bay.
Yeah, for sure. Really quick before I go, I just got the update. Eric Gustafsson's out, Nate Prosser's in, and Joel Farabee is starting with JVR and Couturier. So seems like everything is the way that it was at the forward group, and Gustafsson remains out and Prosser's in. So there we go.
As your podcast co-host Broads would say, don't tease me with a good time.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Open Ice Hits, the podcast, drops Monday morning, right?
Yes, it will drop Monday morning.
All right, there you go. They get your Durso fix next on Monday morning. Check out his work over at 97.3ESPN.com. Josh Hennick here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the game is coming up in just a few minutes. I wanted to get to a quick text message and then run back down my picks for UFC 259 tonight, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Dan in Tuckerton chimed in on the text board. Let me pop it up on the screen for all of you watching the show here. Dan Tuckerton says Alex Smith might be too expensive and wanted to start, but he would be a great backup for Jalen Hurts. See, I like the way Dan Tuckerton is thinking. Dan from Tuckerton is thinking like a football strategy guy. You want the guy who's had experience. You want the guy who knows the game. I would love to see Alex Smith here. He ain't coming here, though. You're right. And it's not because he's too expensive. I personally think Alex Smith is going one of two places. He's either going to Jacksonville to play for his former coach, Urban Meyer, and to mentor Trevor Lawrence, or, as you mentioned, if he's serious about starting somewhere next year, you know where he might end up? He might end up in Denver. Because it looks like right now that Denver, they're kind of on the outside looking in of getting any of these quarterbacks, whether it's Deshaun Watson, they couldn't get Wentz, they're not going to get Russell Wilson. There's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to say he wants to go to Denver. Who are they going to get? Ryan Fitzpatrick or Alex Smith? And that might be where he has to go. Alex Smith is in a very interesting situation. I know people mentioned Chicago and Matt Nagy, but to me, Alex Smith, he might just retire as well. I mean, who knows what his long-term plans are. Good stuff from everybody texting and text board. Thanks, Kevin Durso, for joining the show. All right. FanDuel Sportsbook picks for tonight. I told you guys yesterday on game night, I am hedging my bet tonight. Jan Blachowicz is plus 184 to win on the money line. Take that and jump on the other side. Israel Adesanya plus 140 to win by knockout or TKO. And if you combine all the favorites, Adesanya, Peter Yan, and Amanda Nunes to win in a parlay, that's plus 200. Those are your picks for UFC 259. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
March is National Nutrition Month, an annual campaign created by the Academy of